This place behind me used to make naval artillery shells. Now it's one of the most popular up-and-coming mixed-use districts in Raleigh. Last year, Raleigh was ranked 6th by the U.S. News and World Report for the best places to live in the U.S. It was also ranked 2nd by the Milken Institute for Economic Growth. This year, that same institute ranked it number 1, especially in the tech industry, bringing it ahead of Austin, which was the previous frontrunner. But this is not without challenges. Increased demand and limited space has led to urban sprawl, which is pushing many young professionals and families to the suburbs, while also leading to an affordability issue when you're inside Raleigh. Therefore, this has led to places like Fenton, Midtown, and now Raleigh Ironworks, creating high-density housing that's both affordable and near a ton of amenities. Now, I've personally recommended this area to a ton of people, and I have a couple personal stories that I could share later because I also decided to end up living here. So with that, let's go ahead and check out what actually makes this area attractive. First of all, one of the most attractive things about this area to me, being in the real estate industry, is a wide range of housing. Just northeast of Raleigh Ironworks, you have a ton of affordable homes. To the west, you have a bunch of above median homes, some of which have been standing for several decades. And then, like we see a lot of times, is new construction, like one of the homes that I'm standing in here. Now, this one's actually southeast of Raleigh Ironworks, but still roughly 5 minutes down the road. But even if you're not a buyer, if you're looking for a leasing option within Raleigh Ironworks, you can get units ranging anywhere from $1,400 all the way to $3,000 a month. Then you have the extra benefit of being within walking distance with the vast majority of amenities that I'm showing you in this video. Now, housing is just one thing that comes to mind that makes this area attractive. But now let's talk about amenities, or more functionally, community and connectivity. It's actually one of the main reasons that I moved here myself. One of the stories that I was alluding to in the beginning. I was nearing the end of my military career, stationed out of what's now called Fort Liberty. But anyways, I was living in Fayetteville. Before that, I was living in Sanford. And in both areas, it felt kind of isolated. And that's not to say that there wasn't things to do. There was plenty of things to do, plenty of people around. Well, plenty being relative. But it wasn't until I picked up rock climbing and moved up here and started getting involved in those sorts of things and arrived to where we're at today. I'm 6 minutes away from the new Triangle Rock Club, which is the biggest rock climbing gym in North Carolina. I'm 5 minutes away from the Runology Run Club. And then there's plenty of events going on. For example, just this weekend over at Raleigh Ironworks is going to be the Lunar New Year Festival. It's more like a market pop-up place, but still, it's an excuse to see friends and meet new people, do things. Now, obviously, this sort of thing could really just depend on what your interests are. But my point being is that it's pretty easy to find groups here. Literally within 5-minute drive both ways are 2 different CrossFit gyms. There's a jiu-jitsu gym. There's Orange 3 Fitness all around. Obviously, there's going to be several normal gyms. And one of the biggest things that brings people together, even from outside of the town, is the Raleigh Convention Center, Red Hat Amphitheater, and all these other places like PNC Arena or other amphitheaters that could bring people together. Specific to Raleigh Ironworks, some other notable mentions is they're creating a series of pickleball courts, a bowling alley, and they already have several breweries around for those who like to try new drinks. The last major attractive feature of Raleigh Ironworks, and there are other smaller ones, is going to be the work scene. Now, this is actually the original reason, story number 1, as to why I moved to Raleigh. Now, obviously, I'm in the real estate industry, so being centrally located in the capital, especially one of the top growing state capitals in the nation, is sort of an obvious pick. Now, besides real estate, construction, and services, other notable industries are going to be tech, medical, biotech, retail, and government. Generally speaking, the closer to Research Triangle Park, or RTP, then the closer you are to the tech hub. And then obviously the closer you are to a city center, then the closer you are to government industry. Retail is everywhere, but it's going to become more and more prominent the further away from these 2 hubs you get, aka if you head out towards Knightdale or Wake Forest. And then one thing that I also forgot to mention is the education sector. Now, this one stretches a little bit away from Raleigh Ironworks because the 3 major universities are going to be a little bit of a drive, but besides that, between the universities and grade schools, the Triangle offers some of the best education available in the nation, especially when you're talking grade schools. Now, because of all of this, most people want to live either close to RTP or close to downtown Raleigh. And this Raleigh Ironworks area does a pretty good job at achieving both. You're going to be closer to RTP than some of the suburbs, but you're especially close to downtown Raleigh. And then lastly, going back to one of my intro comments, this year Raleigh was ranked number 1 in economic growth with a specific emphasis in the tech sector. So if you're looking at a tiebreaker between somewhere like Raleigh, Charlotte, Austin, Tampa, then it's yet another indicator that could push you towards the Raleigh direction, pending that everything else is also suitable for you. So all of this sounds great between jobs, places to live, and things to do, but what are about some of the challenges that you could expect by living here? I already mentioned urban sprawl a little bit earlier, but I'm going to get into that a little more specifically because a lot of the challenges that you could anticipate by living here really have their roots in the urban sprawl. First and foremost, the obvious one is going to be the traffic. Several months ago, I did a video in Fuquay, and When I was driving home, I actually saw the opportunity to catch some footage of this. And I didn't originally plan on doing this, but more or less, you could just expect that these constrained roads are gonna be increased levels of stress, causing your trip to take anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times longer than what it would otherwise. And of course, they can improve the roads, but that just means you're gonna have to expect to live in traffic, at least for the near future. The second thing, which is actually probably the biggest comment that I always get, is about affordability. This is kind of a twofold part. Number one is it's led to a lot of gentrification. But number two, the price of the homes are ever increasing, which is good from an equity perspective. But the average household income that's collected by the census shows that the average household is gonna have difficulty keeping up with the increasing housing rates. The goal of the Housing Affordability Index is to be at least at 100 points. And as of December of 2024, the Housing Affordability Index was 88. Now, as more businesses and jobs grow here, I'm sure that the average household income is also gonna increase. But just know, owning a home can get more expensive with things like taxes, so you want to make sure you have enough cushion room financially, both with savings and with income streams. And really the last thing that I would hit on is being in a city like this, it's going to have its natural growing pains. On a cultural side of the house, I often see that people that are really big into food, foodies and whatnot, it's really hit or miss if you're here. Some people will say that the food is super bland, while others say that it's diverse. Now, I'm not a foodie, so I can't really be a good judge of that, but what I glean from that is if you're used to being in a top-notch area with just phenomenal food, I'd imagine somewhere like New York City, DC, or just a place that's been around for a while, to just be patient with a place like here, because we're constantly having new restaurants open up, go out of business, because it's one of the hardest industries to open a business in. But over time, the good ones stay, and we eventually build a strong network of restaurants. With that, that's everything I have for this week's video. Because I didn't say this in the intro, for those that don't know me, I'm Dave Domingo from eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy a home in Raleigh, hit me up, especially if you're thinking of buying a home in the spring and summertime, because the time to start planning is right now. So reach out, my contact info is in the description, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Thanks.